Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just going to talk about a manipulation tactic. No, we are going to completely reverse engineer the playbook used to expose it. We're pulling back the curtain to show you exactly how a powerful message like this is constructed, so you can not only spot the tactic in your own life, but also understand the strategy behind revealing it.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to kick things off with the core concept, what DARVO actually is. Then we'll look at the video's blueprint itself. After that, we'll dig into the psychological tools that give it some real punch, see how stories make it stick, find that one unexpected twist, and finally, wrap up with how you win both the click and the mind. Okay, first up, the core concept. Look, to take apart a manipulative tactic, you got to be able to name it, right? But a really good explainer does more than that. It makes you feel deep down why this whole thing matters. This is where we lay the groundwork.
So, a smart explainer always starts by hitting a nerve, tapping into a feeling we've all had. This question right here, it's not just a question. It's that sinking feeling of confusion and frustration. It pulls you right into the story, makes you go, wait, yeah, that's happened to me. What is that? And just like that, you need an answer.
And boom, here's the answer to that feeling. It's called DARVO. It stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Now, the really important thing to get here is that it's a reaction. It's this defensive reflex that kicks in when someone gets called out. It's not some master plan they've been cooking up. It's more like a desperate and, honestly, pretty destructive impulse.
So what's so cool about breaking it down like this? Well, it takes what feels like a chaotic, messy argument and turns it into a predictable three-step dance. First, you get the flat-out denial. I didn't do it. Then comes the attack, right? They go after you, your character. And for the grand finale, the masterstroke, they flip the script and become the victim, making you the bad guy. Just seeing it laid out like this, that's the first step to taking its power away.
But why is this so important for people between, say, 18 and 25? Because this is when you're navigating all this new, complicated stuff for the first time. University, your first real job, serious relationships. The stakes are just higher. This is the exact territory where DARVO can turn a simple misunderstanding into something way more damaging. So spotting this pattern early, it's not just handy, it's a legit critical life skill. Okay, so knowing the concept is one thing, but how do you actually build a story around it that works? That brings us to the blueprint. Think of this as the architectural plan for an explainer that really hits home.
And look, this is way more than just a list of bullet points. It's an emotional journey. It all starts with a hook, sets up a little mystery, drops some key insights, and then it hits you with a twist that makes you rethink everything. By the end, you feel empowered. Every single step is designed to walk you from that place of confusion to total clarity. All right, let's talk about the psychological arsenal. See, a really powerful explainer doesn't just exist on its own. It gets its weight, its authority, by linking the main idea to all these other, bigger psychological concepts. This is where it gets its real firepower.
When you start weaving in concepts like gaslighting, cognitive dissonance, and projection, suddenly the explanation has so much more depth. And when you bring in someone like Carl Jung and his idea of the shadow self, whoa, that adds this whole other layer. It suggests that these behaviors come from a dark place that, honestly, we all have inside us, even if we don't like to admit it. It shows you that DARVO isn't some one-off trick. It's part of a much bigger, darker pattern of how we humans can be.
And this is a perfect example of why being precise really matters. A lot of people mix up DARVO and gaslighting. And yeah, they're related, but they're not the same thing at all. DARVO is like a short, sharp, explosive reaction. Gaslighting, that's the long game. It's a slow, corrosive campaign to make you doubt your own reality. A good explainer has to clear that up, to give you sharper tools to see what's what.
Okay, but let's be real. Concepts can be kind of abstract, so how do you make them actually stick in someone's brain? Simple. You turn them into real human stories. This is where all that theory becomes something you can actually see and feel.
Let's take a relationship, for example. Your partner breaks a promise. That's the issue. But when you bring it up, first, they deny it's a big deal. Then, they attack you. Suddenly, you're too demanding. And finally, they flip it so that they're the one who's hurt by your aggression. It's a painfully familiar story for a lot of people, and it makes the whole concept just click.
And it's not just in relationships. The same pattern pops up at work all the time. A colleague misses a huge deadline. You confront them, and what happens? They deny it was their fault, they attack the team for not being supportive, and then they flip it. Suddenly, they're the victim of this toxic environment.
When you see this pattern play out in totally different settings, you realize just how sneaky and versatile it really is.
Now, to keep you glued to the screen through all these stories, creators use some psychological tricks of their own. Things like a pattern interrupt, a sudden change in music or visuals that just resets your brain. Or an open loop, where they promise to reveal something later on, which makes you have to stick around. These aren't just random edits, they're basically little neurohacks to keep you locked in.
Every truly great explainer has that one moment, that pivot, the twist that just shatters what you thought you knew and makes you see the whole topic in a completely different light.
And this is exactly how you set the stage for a twist like that. You take the most common assumption everyone has, that DARVO is something only, diagnosed narcissists or just bad people do, and you get ready to blow it up. It builds this tension, this anticipation for what's coming next.
And there it is, the big reveal. The twist isn't that other people do this to us. The twist is that, under enough pressure, any of us could do a milder version of this just to protect our own ego. And that changes everything. It shifts the focus from some external them to an internal us. It turns this from a simple warning about other people into something way deeper, an insight into human nature itself.
Okay, last piece of the puzzle. Because look, you can have the most powerful message in the world, but if no one ever hears it, what's the point? So let's break down the art and science of actually packaging this thing so it can win in a super crowded online world.
Just look at how these different titles are engineered. They're not random. One is all about sparking your curiosity. Another one leans into fear, like a warning sign. And the third offers validation, that feeling of it's not your fault. Each title is like a key to a different emotional door, trying to make sure that whoever needs to see this finds it.
And behind the scenes, this is the invisible architecture holding the whole thing together. These keywords aren't just words on a screen. They're the exact phrases people are typing into search bars when they feel lost and confused and need answers. This is how you make sure the right message finds the right people at the right time.
Which really brings us to the main point of all of this. When you understand the blueprint, how the argument is built, how the story is told, how the whole thing is packaged, you stop being just a passive listener. You become an active, critical thinker. You're not just learning a definition, you're getting the actual tools to see and dismantle this stuff in your own life.
And so here's the final thought to leave you with. Once you can see the strings, once you understand the mechanics of the manipulation, who's the real puppeteer? The power completely shifts. The person pulling the strings isn't hiding in the shadows anymore. And more often than not, you realize the power to cut those strings was in your hands the whole time.